Hi, so today we are on Bryan Danielson AEW's entire run, his entire run in AEW, match number 12, the one we've been building up to for a few days now, which is the Full Gear match, the Men's World Championship Eliminator Tournament. Whoever wins this becomes number one contender for the AEW Men's World title. And this was against Miro, also known as Rusev. I'll be calling him Rusev in this video, but during his AEW run, he is Miro. So during the tournament, Rusev was not actually slated to be originally part of it. This was originally supposed to be Jon Moxley's position. Unsure if he was going to win or not. And then Jon Moxley had to pull out through injury, I think it was. And then Rusev was the replacement, beating Darby Allin, and henceforth getting into the final. Now, we know what Bryan had to go through. He had to go through Eddie Kingston, mainly, to get to the final. Eddie and Dustin Rhodes, both great matches. Especially that Eddie one. That Eddie one was really fun. And Rusev only had to go through Orange Cassidy. Now, the AEW Men's World title was actually under a match that night. It was Kenny Omega, who Bryan's first AEW debut match was against, where he was unlucky to lose. And Hangman Adam Page. We'll get into that because we love some cowboy shit. So this match, from the get-go, is, in my opinion, a true quintessential Bryan Danielson match. And I don't mean that in the sense of, you have to watch it, it's an all-time. No, this is Bryan Danielson to his core. Miro, I'm going to fluctuate between Miro and Rusev, I know I am. Miro is so expressive with his face. He's obviously healing this. And the guy is straight out of Punch-Out from Nintendo. That's exactly how to describe him. He's insane. The facial expressions, the body language, he just ragdolls Bryan throughout the match. It's incredible. And I'm not the biggest, don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest Rusev guy. I'm not like the biggest fan of the guy, especially from, the master politician that he is. But in this match, he's perfect, and I'll never say anything bad about this match with him. He is absolutely perfect. He comes in, you notice it straight away, he's bandaged up. But I thought there'd be more size difference in terms of height. There's actually not, unless it was just the camera playing tricks. But the weight, I think they said it on commentary, 80 pounds difference. That's insane. So obviously he just throws Bryan around like it's nothing. And you can see Bryan's face, he's calculating everything, while Miro's just being cockiness, faking the yes chant, stuff like that. Oh my God, it's phenomenal. I was thinking about this when I was watching it. This is the most satisfying win, just in general. It's a satisfying match. I thought it was phenomenal. I think, so Bryan learns out pretty easy, quite early on, that he cannot out-wrestle technically. He cannot do that in this match. That's why he has to change his game plan. You can see the gears once he gets sent out the ring. Once he first lands that one leg, and they put it over on commentary, it's been discovered that Rusev's weakness is his neck. Bryan goes for that. But the kicks are where it lands until later on in the match, where they become less effective. The stuff, the lariats, every time is mainly the chops you hear from Miro. I mean, Jesus, they're incredible. And the weight difference is insane, but it just launches Bryan. He's honestly nothing to him, and it's kind of portrayed in the weight. I watched this, and I hated him. I hated Rusev. I was every chop, every kick, I'm going, get him, Bryan, fucking get him. Oh my God, I was ridiculously invested. I loved this match. I really loved it. It's the most, when I mean quintessential, I don't mean, again, this is not the number one match I'd recommend for anyone who wants to watch a Bryan Danielson match. No, of course not. But it strips Bryan down to his core, and it's a true David versus Goliath. And I love that. It's like I say, he's like a Punch-Out villain. And if you don't know what Punch-Out is, it's an old Nintendo game. But the point is, it's once you get past one weakness of the guy, the basic piss easy, but they're so expressive, they're so egotistical, so cocky. That's Rusev in this match, and it's perfect. Absolutely perfect. The main thing for me about this match is it is true to just Bryan Danielson will never give up. He'll never quit. And I love that. There's never say die attitude about the guy, even though he knows he's outmatched in so many different aspects of this match. He knows his advantage. He works it out and he beats him down. The kicks, the speed, the agility, the intelligence is all in Bryan's favour. It's just brute strength. He can't compete with that, and he knows that. Once he gets sent out the ring a lot, and he does get through into the barricade and stuff and the steps, Rusev is just basically bullying Bryan, and that's where it's like I was thinking about it when I was watching the match. There's that old clip, I think it's Cornette from like the Vince doc on Netflix, and he just describes like it's that guy could be that guy, and stuff like the quintessential thing to wrestling, and this feels like that. Again, I feel like I'm describing it like it's the most definitive piece of wrestling ever. It's not, but it is just a perfect archetype of big guy, little guy. And it's I loved it. I love that. It made me one of the reasons, like, it's not one of the reasons I love wrestling, but it's kind of reminds you how good wrestling is. It's a real good shot in the arm, at least for me. I loved it, and I feel like it was a perfect opponent for Bryan Danielson to show that, okay, he'll be against these big juggernauts who will just throw him around, hit him like everywhere. But the guy will never quit, and the guy will find a way. He's better. He's better than them. He knows he is. He's just got this aspects that are heightened to other people that aren't heightened for him. It's insane. There's a bunch of stuff. It feels like this is a culmination of all of Bryan's matches so far. He gets a lot of the chops, the kicks, the kick in the head, and he gets that in. That's pretty good. Rusev reverses a good few. And he actually counters the psycho knee, which was sick. I loved that. The looks in Bryan's eyes as well. I loved the visuals in this match. I think they made it look perfect in the sense of you could see the expression, especially Rusev, I'll give him that. You could see the expression. That guy is so expressive. And like the change of attitude throughout the match, it's a guy from utmost confidence, a cocky villain. It like something off a cartoon, out of a video, like Punch Out again. To one who's scared. When Bryan kicks out, he gets the rope break. He's crying. He's praying to his God mid-match. It's incredible. Bryan Danielson is getting the label lock in and he's breaking it, but he's still crying. That's how much he's getting beat. The bully is getting beat at his own game. It's phenomenal. If you don't love professional wrestling, you will not get this. But you want to give it a go. This is the type of shit. It's phenomenal. You feel it. You feel the emotion. You feel the anger. You feel every bit of weight. It's perfect. Honestly. Yeah, there's like when you notice, like I said, Rusev's leg is bandaged from the start of the match, and Bryan attacks it. It obviously limps it, so it does kind of slow the pace down. But that's kind of the point. It's supposed to be like, it's kind of like being a big like giant. But you got this mouse. The mouse is going to out quickly, but once you hit it. It's done. There's a point where Rusev is going, come on, and he puts like his arms up, saying inviting Bryan. Bryan gets free kicks it, and like. He's trying to firm it, and he's trying to, but like the more it happens, you can see the pain. So Rusev lands one, and Bryan goes flying to do it again, and there's more pain. It's beating him down. It's as much as you can beat Bryan down with one big hit. Bryan will still go at you with 110%, which will break you down 100%. And I love that. It's just underdog. It feels like. It just feels like you get Bryan Danielson through this match. You get what he's all about. Yeah, as a face, as a heel, he's a condescending dick, but I love that. But as a face, this is Bryan. He doesn't stop. He will find a way, and I love that. He's like a superhero. Forget Super Cena, Super Bryan. There's not really a lot of insane things like in terms of spots. It's a lot of the runbacks for Bryan, and I assume Rusev too. But that's not a problem. It's just. It didn't need to. It's a lot of like the psycho knee is probably my favorite spot where Bryan's calling for him up and he does the yes, and then Rusev actually counters it. I love that. I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was a great call. You can see throughout the match when it zooms in, it zooms a lot of Rusev's facials, which you expect. Like I said, his facial expressions in this match are incredible, and there's just a big bruise there. I love that, and. Yeah, a lot of rope work in terms of on the buckle. Like there's a point where the like elbow and that was a good point when Bryan gets the armbar and he just starts elbowing Rusev. A lot of time Bryan gets these excellent holds, and the fact that he just like gets a rollover pin in the sense of dodge a Rusev move, go under his legs and pull him down. I don't think that gets a lot of credit, because that must be very hard to do for Rusev's weight on Bryan Danielson. It's insane. And just a bunch of stuff like that. It was surprisingly, the guys are so different styles, right? Rusev is this old-fashioned, big, basic bodybuilder, archetype villain. And he's like Bluto in a way. And then Bryan's this genius, technical marvel of a wrestler. So it makes sense why they work, but they're so polar opposite. If you cannot tell how much I love this match, I adore this. I think it is phenomenal. And it's not even his best match. It's insane. There's points where, like, early on in the match, Rusev is doing this whole thing where he gets on the rope and puts both legs on your throat. Aubrey Edwards is the ref. She's trying to rag him off, and he just doesn't. Again, increasing the heat. The crowd actually sounds split. It was quite funny to see. Like, people were going, "Let's go, Bryan," Miro, or like Redeemer and stuff, like, chanting for both. And I was like, how? How are you chanting for someone other than Bryan in this one? It was great, honestly. I don't watch a lot of Rusev. I'm not the biggest guy at that. I'll watch Bryan any day of the week, clearly. But I was impressed. I thought he done well. I think Bryan, obviously, it's a proper underdog story. It's such an encapsulated story in this match. They didn't need promos. There was no promos going into this, but they didn't need promos. It worked. It really worked. I feel like this entire tournament so far, Dustin Rhodes to Eddie Kingston to Rusev or Miro, I think that's a perfect trilogy. I think the Dustin Rhodes one was respectful. I feel like that's the legend, outdated, being, beaten by the guy who's just from a better era, younger. Eddie Kingston was a brawler versus a tactician, and Eddie Kingston was too emotional. And with this match, Rusev versus Bryan Danielson, it's David versus Goliath. And I adore that. I think that's such a perfect way. So the finish is Bryan is on the ropes, and he gets Rusev the elbow and having a fight on the ropes while Bryan's on the top turnbuckle. And he wins the strike off. And then he gets Rusev and does a DDT and throws him. And Rusev just lands out, and Bryan gets the cover or the submission, and it's instantly called. It looks like Rusev was out completely. I don't know if that was a botch or what. I hate saying that word. But you know what I mean? I don't know if that was something that just was supposed to happen or not, but I like that finish. I like the fact that it was so definitive. I really like that. Bryan Danielson got the win. Bryan Danielson is your next AEW Men's World Championship contender at this point in time. Great moment. Crowd is ridiculously thrilled. The match was... the crazy thing is about this match, Full Gear 2021 is a legendary event for AEW. I'll go why. Because Kenny Omega is beaten for the AEW World Championship, ending the belt collector run, bookending it by Hangman Adams Page, whose entire story is one of the best that I've ever seen. So it's a big deal. And so the next match we will be getting from Bryan Danielson is Hangman Adam Page versus Bryan Danielson, match 1. Which, if you don't know how good that match is, I mean, Christ. Before I like this one, the next one is, oh my God. This match, again, I can't really go over it enough, is phenomenal. It feels like the most classic. It's the most bare bones, but in a good way. I really enjoyed this. I think this is a match that I hope gets spoke about a lot more. I think this is a great match. I think this, so far, it's definitely the most satisfying win for Bryan in his entire AEW run thus far. I enjoyed this the same I enjoyed the Suzuki match, and I really enjoyed the Suzuki match. I don't think this is better than the Kenny match, but the Kenny match is a genuine once-in-a-lifetime situation. I don't think a lot of things are ever going to top that. This is phenomenal, and even though it feels like the most... If you've got a friend who you want to get into wrestling or who wants to get into wrestling or whatever, this feels like the match to start. This feels like a match to, okay, you want to learn about, in my opinion, the greatest wrestler ever. Show him this. Well, don't get me wrong, show him his best matches. But if you want to, as part of the thing, this would not be a bad shout to show him or them or whatever. this is a clinic. This is a classic in the purest form. Classic in terms of its quality. Classic in terms of how it's built. It's not built to be like this mass overproduced, deep, multi-layered match. No, it's classic David versus Goliath. Face versus heel, big man versus small guy. All about it, and it's phenomenal, and it's great, and it's effective. And I might have got a bit too into this match, but I do not care. This is a clinic. Have you watched this match? Have you watched any of Bryan's matches so far, what we've covered? What's your opinion on this match as a whole? And honestly, I would like to know what's your opinion on Rusev, because I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but he's great in this. He's really good in this. And yeah, we will continue with, in my opinion, some of the greatest pro wrestling ever.